This is a story that I wish I would now be able to say. As in, I wish it never existed, you know? But we have to tell what happened, why that happened, and how things ended, which is also extremely disappointed, right? So let's start with the story. This is the story of Shiro Ishii, Japanese, also known as the Japanese Mengele doctor. Now, I don't know how many of you are actually familiar, so just for the record, Mengele was a doctor. If you want to call it like that, yes, he was a doctor, and he experimented on humans during the Nazism, and the idea was, of course, to create a better race, right? What's behind Mengele's work is, of course, eugenics, and so the attempt was to create a better race. But the experiments were on humans, carried out with extreme cruelty.
And that is overall why Mengele deserved the nickname of the Angel of Death. But we might talk about Mengele another time. And for now, we're gonna stop here. And if you want an episode on Mengele, please comment below. And we're gonna go to Shiro Ishii.
Let's talk about Shiro Ishii. So Shiro Ishii was born in Japan in 1892. Very intelligent guy. He was born in a family where the dad was a successful landowner and sake maker. Very intelligent to the point that he was believed to be a genius or almost a genius, whatever that means, and went on to pursue the path of a career in the military. He was 6 feet tall, so extremely tall for the Japanese average male, and he's remembered for having always clean uniforms, always groomed facial hair, and a deep, powerful voice. Now, this man is scary. To anybody who has like a shred of empathy, a shred of humanity in themselves, this man is scary. And the things, the crimes actually that were committed against other human beings are horrible and terrifying. You know, the typical psycho, the way it is described as somebody lacking completely of empathy and just pursuing the path of whatever that is, like the goal of understanding how science can improve to understand, you know, what sorts of surgeries must be carried out to cure X, Y, and Z. Okay, there's a way that nowadays is international laws that is an ethical way of pursuing experiments, and that's why ethics is so important. And then there is this way. Now, he was also extremely, we said that, extremely bright in school, but also known for sabotaging other students, and he was never punished for it. It was almost as if teachers kind of like rewarded him. And when you see that, be aware that that's a typical behavior. With that being said, of a psycho. And the more you push boundaries, especially you know, when you are in a such young age, and you start pushing boundaries between what's right and what's wrong, the more you kind of lose that concept. Now, this would deserve a whole conversation on like what's my standpoint on right and wrong, but I'm not gonna go there. I'm gonna take for granted that we all agree on these crimes being crimes, okay? On these facts being crimes. And so let's go. There was a Geneva International Law that prohibited already certain type of actions that were defined as crimes against humanity, right? And there's still that law. But we are in 1930, and we are in a point in time where Shiro Ishii comes back after a 2-year research tour comes back to Japan. Now, we are also at a point where Japan wages war against China. Now, Shiro Ishii starts to become extremely interested in biological weapons and builds a facility that is in Harbin. Now, for geographical logistical reason, that facility is not a good deal, right? So he starts slowly to move 100 kilometers south from Harbin, and that is the actual secret facility that he creates. Now here he uses anti-Japanese workers, guerrilla bands, innocent people, also children, and he starts making experiments. The experiments were, number one, involving drawing blood from those people. Drawing blood happened 3 to 5 times a week, until, of course, they would become too weak, and at that point they would be used for more extreme experiments. Experiments involved freezing limbs, vivisection, high-pressure chambers, understanding how much blood one can lose without dying, mostly freezing outside. That facility south of Harbin shuts down in 1937. However, he had already built a different place, so-called Unit 731. This was especially well known for experiments on frostbite. The idea was, let's have limbs one at a time get frozen, okay? Once we understand him and his medical equipe, once we understand that that limb is frozen, we're gonna start experimenting on how to unfreeze it. And the idea was that first this would be on one limb, then to another, then to the other, then to the other. At this point, people, of course, like to experiment, people were amputated. And then the severed limb would be placed in water. That is actually how, and this should be credited, how the Japanese understood the remedy for frostbite. That is to immerse in hot water between 100 and 122 Fahrenheit. But when people were left only to be head and torso, they would be thrown away for more serious studies, specifically studies with germs, with the typhoid, with the syphilis, with all sorts of infectious diseases, to see what was the impact of those diseases onto their bodies. Studies like that actually involved vivisecting the person. That means cutting open without anesthetics that person, just so that to measure, evaluate, assess the impact of the infectious disease, the impact of those germs and bacteria in the body. People that were also injected with the syphilis, for instance, were made to have sex with other prisoners, right? That is because syphilis is a sexually transmitted disease, and that is to evaluate the impact of syphilis, right? The idea was, let's understand how properly, I guess, how those diseases work, so that we can use it as biological weapons, right, to attack and destroy our enemies. It's calculated that actually under surgery something like 3,000 people died, but in total the deaths amount to either 200,000 or 300,000 people. He was ordered to destroy all documents, but some of those he brought home. Now it's interesting because the daughter remembers the home nearby Unit 731 as a happy home, as a home where she would watch with her father Gone with the Wind. He got immunity. he got immunity by the US. He was also rewarded with 250,000 yen and the ability to live free and happy the rest of his life, and then he died eventually due to throat cancer. Now, the Americans paid him this quantity and paid him this quantity of money and gave him immunity to receive secrets. They did receive less probably than expected. Some things were never revealed. There's around 20% of secrets that Shiro Ishii buried with himself, but there's a good 80% of secrets of medical treatments and experiments that he actually confessed to the Americans. And we do know that the North Koreans accused the Americans to have thrown a plague bomb. So that is a bomb filled with germs onto North Korea. And independent research has confirmed that. And probably, and that is the result, the implementation of those secrets revealed to the Americans by Shiro Ishii. This also has been confirmed by the Big Itch, which is like this experiments that were carried out in Utah and were known as the flea bomb that occurred just right before dropping the bomb in North Korea. Okay guys, so this was the story of Shiro Ishii. At this point, I want to know your thoughts. Please let us know, comment below, and if you have enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll talk next time in a new video. Bye!